I get nervous like that.
I saw that. I'm going to talk to you about that.
All right, man. What's going on?
I'm lovely. I'm
Yo,
ready.
y'all
Let's
don't
go.
understand, man. I got
This is different.
Yo, all the way from Hempstead, Long Island, New York. I got my sis on here, man. Shennise Alston. Calling all Austins.
Calling all Austins. Yo, stop it, bro. Y'all had to be there. Y'all had to be there. Wow.
Oh, man.
Calling all Austins. Rest in peace, mommy.
Yo, this is a serious relationship right
this is
here, man.
different.
Like, what?
This is different, bro. This is God.
I was 16.
Yeah, this is God.
Wow, that's like almost 20-something years. 20-something years. In the trenches, though.
The facts, though.
To where we sitting at right now?
Some things have occurred.
Wow.
In 26 years, for sure.
So I know you as Shennise Alston.
Right.
Of course, like I say, you know, there's many gifts packaged in this person right here.
That's what they say.
Briefly, just do the intro. Y'all don't want to mess it up. Who is Shennise Alston?
Oh man, Shennise Alston is pure. She's a woman of God, you know, unapologetically. She is now a wife. She is a mother. She is a mentor. She is the encourager. She wears many hats, and God handles it all. She's transparent.
She got her own
naturally.
podcast.
She has her own podcast, Hot Mic with Lady She podcast. She has her own shirts business. Had to hook my bro up with a shirt.
Oh yeah. Yo,
I'm rocking one of my shirts actually.
Let me see that shirt. Real quick. Make
Being
sure
black
I get
is
that.
priceless.
Just throw it to me.
Being
We on the
black
Value
is
Podcast.
priceless.
That's how we get down.
She's a writer. She's a poet. She's an author.
Hold on, you gotta save some of that stuff for later. Save some of that stuff for later.
Will me in and will me out, fam.
Fear is a liar.
Fear is a liar.
Right. Oh, we gonna matter of fact.
Fear is a liar.
Because we gonna be talking about words on here.
Yeah, fear is a liar.
Fear is a liar.
Yeah.
I'm not going. Listen, man. I got so much I want to say right now.
Let it out, kid.
You know what? Let's do this because back on the. This is where I really got this word is born from. From back in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when you said something, you had to mean it.
Right.
Now the thing is, if you didn't mean it, it was gonna be tested. I
facts.
said that in my book. Like you could be on the streets, if we use that as an example, you could be on the streets saying this, that, and the third, but eventually it was gonna be tested.
Right.
Like, oh, you said that? Oh, you could fight? Oh, you could beat everybody up? Oh, you doing, okay. Somewhere in life during that qualm of walking it out is gonna get tested.
The facts.
So let me ask you this. Have you found yourself in a position where you said something and your word was tested, what you said?
Absolutely. I can use, you know, having my second child out of wedlock. You know, when I took it personal, when I had my first son, I gave my life to God. He's been raised in the church all his life. And I'm like, you know, next time is marriage and then children. I had it in my head. I was serious. This is what it's going to be. And yeah, it didn't happen that way. And it was a time because I knew better. And it was a thing of, okay, well, what kind of fear of God do you actually have that you would actually do what you said you wouldn't do and be in the house of the Lord? So it was an interesting time for me. So yeah, absolutely.
You said the Lord. So okay, here we go. Life and death are in the power of the tongue.
Right.
So, and here's the thing, for people that are watching and listening, this is not even deep and spiritual.
Right.
This is just practical. If you speak life,
words have power.
this is what happens.
Yeah,
you
words
speak
have
death,
power.
this is what happens. And when I say death, it could be negative, life described as positive.
Absolutely.
Now, have you always spoken life?
No.
No.
I honestly, especially through my childhood, I always had self-esteem issues. I always, it was a quiet tone, undertone. How can I explain? When I tell people that, they're always confused because I was a dancer, I was a singer, I was a performer, but that was my outlet. So when I was doing that, it was a release of all the hurt, all the confusion, all the conversations no adults were having with me because I was dying on the inside. So I had suicidal thoughts. I tried to kill myself as a child. So I went through certain things like internally, but was still like operating like, yeah, I'm good.
See, I didn't know that.
I know.
So that's the power of words. I mean, what do you believe produced that though? Because
Pain. Absolutely, pain.
Was it from words that people spoke to you or over you?
Words that people spoke definitely over me. people always would remind me that I was different. You know, I was the lightest one in my house.
Yeah, I
If
know.
you think about it, I was the lightest one in the house. I was yellow.
I almost thought that
Yeah.
you wasn't part of the crew.
Oh, I used to say it to my mother. I'm like, yo, y'all must have just picked me up. Like, I was adopted. She used to get really mad. And it was my hurt, though, because I'm like, yo, why do I look so different from them? And I would always hear it outside. So it was everywhere, like school and this. My mother picked me up. They were thinking of the light-skinned ladies. My mom, I'm like, no, my mom right here. They're like, wait, what? You know, it was confusing. And then I didn't have a relationship with my father. That's another thing. You know, I'm going to be very transparent because I want to free somebody. I did have conversations with my mom about my childhood, and she understood, you know, as God grew me up, that part of my testimony could actually cause her pain but free someone else. So my mom told me a whole nother guy was my dad when I was a child. Okay. So I'm thinking that I'm half Spanish at first. So that really made me different. Then she tells me someone else is my dad, and I meet him, and they yellow. So I blended in, which made me feel a little better. But I still went through some things because, you know, their family was their family forever, and then here I am, the new person. They looking like we don't know we want her. So I went through some changes with the people in my age group, even though my dad's, the older ones in the family, kind of showed me love. So I went through a lot. Emotionally, checked out. I even say that, and it may sound dramatic, I even come to realize for me, I'll say for me, that I didn't really know what love was until my 40s.
Wow.
And I'm only 43.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you know what? Even when you spoke about, you know, your mom, your dad, I always say this, like, I believe even the older generation that came before us, and even our parental supervisors, whoever that was, mom, dad, uncle, aunt, somebody, whoever, they were utilizing the best tools and strategies that they had, and the best words that they had to communicate.
Absolutely. Listen, forgiveness is for you. I had to forgive my mom to have a real relationship with her. I got a real relationship with my mom as an adult because I was confused growing up. I'm like, did you not want me? What was happening? You know, what was this about? Like, I didn't get it. You know, I was molested by 2 men in my house. 339? That situation is different, bro. Like, when I say who I am today, I'm not supposed to be here mentally, I know I'm not supposed to be here. So that's why I glorify God. Everything you're going to hear me say is God, is God. I'm making that a shirt, too. It's God. Nobody steal it. That's my phrase. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. It's God. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's God. I know that there is healing in forgiveness because, like I said, you know, before my mom passed, we had real conversations, and I had to understand that she didn't know what to do. She just didn't. Her mom didn't teach her certain things. She had to fend for herself. So I couldn't fault her for certain things she just did not have. That's why I, you know, even as a mentor, when I'm talking to kids, I said, listen, I know we see the Huxtables, we see, you know, these black parents and HBC, we see these different things, and, you know, I'm not saying it's not real, but you have to deal with your environment and understand human beings are trying to raise you. They're giving you what they have and what they might learn, and it's not going to be perfect because you're not perfect either. We have to accept those kind of things, and sometimes we don't give each other grace. We don't even give ourselves grace. So, you know, I'll say to myself, you know, I would be talking to someone who was violated as a child by their dad, and they're like, you know, but my mom, it seemed like she didn't care. And I said, maybe she just didn't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she just honestly didn't know what to say, what to do. She was probably embarrassed. She was hurt by what you went through. It hurt her, but she just didn't do anything because she didn't know what to do. Give your mom grace. Give yourself grace by forgiving her and forgiving yourself for feeling how you felt. Because the Bible still tells us, honor thy mother and your days shall be long. The Bible ain't gonna change his words because of you.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I still had to forgive and honor thy mother. And that's how I started really reaping blessings from God.
See, that's a word right there, and that's a connection for the value of relationships.
The value of relationships.
That your word is so powerful. Not just, here's the thing, and I always say this, like, if you don't believe your own word, it's gonna be hard for you to believe somebody else's word. Like, if you say, you know what, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna do this. If you don't even believe your own word, that means when somebody goes to give you a word or speak something, you're not gonna believe that.
Right.
And let alone, it's gonna make it challenging for you to believe God's word.
Right.
Because you don't even believe your own word. You're not even accountable for your own words. Now, here's the thing, I wasn't always, there's some things I said and I didn't follow through with.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I want to do this though, because you were talking about your mom, you're talking about the words, you're talking about your family, and things that you had to battle with. when did you begin to have the right language or vocabulary to defend against the thoughts or the words that were in your mind? Because you know it starts in the mind. So there's this battle of words. I'm great. I'm not great. I'm beautiful. I'm not beautiful. And I'm hearing what they're saying. I'm hearing what the enemy's saying. I'm hearing my own thoughts. Like when did you, or do you remember the transition you were making where you started to have the power in a new language? Like, you know what? No, I'm not that.
I would have to say when I got pregnant with my oldest. That's when I actually made a choice to hear from God. I always had a relationship with God because, you know, my grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness, my mom became a Jehovah's Witness. So growing up, I was very close to my grandmother. So, you know, she taught me, that's why I didn't have sex until I was late in age. Because they taught me like, no, it's marriage for that. I really believed that. I really went through certain things and believed that. But when I got pregnant, for one, the person that I got pregnant by, I was like, I was in such a dark place when my grandmother passed away. Like, when I say I checked out, I really checked out. That's why I don't remember a lot of my 20s. I don't remember certain things because it was trauma for me. I didn't understand. You know, she got ill. I was in college. I was away. And I was like, you know, I can't leave it like that. I left school to come help her and take care of her, and then she died. So I took offense with God. I was mad. I was hurt. I was like, you had me leave school. Like, I was cursing God. I don't want nothing to do with God. So I was like, I was in the streets. I was in them streets. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, you was in them streets.
Yeah, I was in them streets.
I was in them streets. I remember you in them streets.
I was in them streets.
But
so
continue.
Partying and all that, you know, and I was checked out. I was very, very checked out. You know, I was engaged to someone, rest in peace to Cousin Jay, and broke off that relationship. Can't tell you today why I did it. I don't have an answer because I was checked out. And that was that. And then I met my children's father, who's now my husband, and we connected quickly, and we ended up having a child. And he said to me, you got to figure out what you're going to do, Shennise. Like, this is happening. And it was like I'm like, yo, word. Like a whole kid about to come. Because I actually love to work with children, but I didn't want any kids. And this is how the enemy works. The reason why I didn't want any children was because I felt that my mother ruined me. So that's how the enemy works. He will try to plant something in your head that doesn't even make any sense.
Words.
So I told myself, I don't want to be a parent. Like, I don't want to ruin my kids. You know, we were molested and this happened to us and she was checked. You know, I told myself all these things, but God. So even in my sin, he saved me. So in my book, I refer to my oldest son as my lifesaver because that's when I had to check into life. I got into church. I'm pregnant going to church. And I'm like, you know what, God, I know you've always heard me, but what do I do now? Like, I'm in this thing now. And a 17-year-old spoke into my life. And she said these words. I didn't know nobody in my church except for one lady who invited me. She said to me, she called me up, because I didn't know nothing about church. I was Jehovah's Witness. So I'm like, yo, why does this little girl, what she want? You know what I'm saying? I'm in church with a straight attitude, like, they're like, she, you know, the church, come on up. I'm like, you're touching me, what's up? Like, what we doing? Come up to the stage, I'm like, what do you need? What's up? And she's looking up, a whole child. She's 17. She goes, God wanted me to tell you that it wasn't your fault. And I'm like, what you talking about, Willis? You know what I'm saying? Like, excuse me, like, what she talking about? So I'm looking back, like, she's talking to me. Like, what she talking about? She's like, yes, God said it wasn't your fault. She was like, you know, you don't have to carry this anymore. And I wanted to run out, and I couldn't. Like, God literally planted my feet. Like, you're gonna get this word. Like, you about to get this word. And I'm like, okay, I wanna run out. Why can't I run out? And then she goes, she's not in pain anymore. And I was done. Tears just. And she's like, you have a voice. God wants to use your voice. And she said, not just singing. He wants to use your voice because of what you went through. And she just, and I'm done. Like, I want to run out, can't run out. Everybody's just behind me, like, holding me up. And I'm like, I want to get out of here. Like, I don't want to hear what she's saying. And I had to hear what she had to say from a stranger and a child for God to get what he needed to get to me. And been in the same church ever since. My son is 20 now. My little one is 8. My husband's now in our church. And I changed my mindset. I changed my thinking, but I still battled. Because when you battle with depression for so long, it doesn't just go away. That's why I want people to understand. This thing is daily. Affirmations, you know, praying, getting in your word. It has to be a daily situation where you want to be better. You want to be better, so you have to use the word. It's the living word.
Outside of the word of God, like, Did that experience, and then just also in the culmination with just life, did that start having you speak different?
Oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
now, did your word become more bond? Like, you know what? No, now when I say this, I mean this. Because
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a society now. I don't even like to say generation, because people like to sometimes categorize
Yeah,
the
yeah.
youth and
No, I
say,
got
oh,
you.
this generation, they don't.
it's not true.
I say the society
Yeah,
now,
it
because
is
you
a
got
society.
the young and the older,
Absolutely.
where we just saying stuff and we don't mean it. Oh, I love you. No, I'm the type of person, I take that stuff to heart. You tell
Right.
me you love me,
Right.
and you mean, I'm like, all right, I'm about to ride. So are you?
You for real now?
Are
This
you
is-
for real?
You want this work? Like
Whether it's intimate partner,
Right.
friendship, family,
got you.
yo, I love you. You sure? Because
Yeah.
it don't take that much to pump and prime me.
Right.
So did that change your vocabulary where you started like speaking differently? Like, you know what? Now when I say something, I need to mean what I'm talking about.
It absolutely did, and that's what I was saying about having a second child. I felt crazy. I felt crippled. Like, how? Like, you've been doing this such and such long. Like, how did you even allow it to happen? You know, with my oldest son, the reason why I could say yes is because I had to speak life into him, because he ended up being diagnosed with autism when he was 4. I didn't know what that was. So I had to speak life into myself, because I was by myself. You know, his dad wasn't there, so it's my mom. You know, she's like, none of us are knowing what this is. I'm gonna be frank. None of us really knew what to do or what this was. And I said, God, you have to speak to me, because now I'm in this. This is my lifesaver. I can't fail at this. I cannot fail at being a mom. I could fail at not writing this book. I could fail at not finishing college. I can't fail at being a mom, because you saved my life with this child. This is personal to me. So I had to constantly say, you know, you are a peculiar person. You are royalty to us. And that's why when people see my son, a lot of times when they read my book, they're like, you know, I never knew he was autistic. I said, because he belongs to God. We spoke life. We shared words. We spoke into each other's life so we can be okay. So your words have to be a bond.
I talked about seed time and harvest on one of my podcasts. Seed time and harvest, because sometimes we say, oh, and people could be listening or watching this now and being like, oh, here they go just talking about words, you know, the power of words and word is born. But yo, words of seed time harvest. When you speak,
Yes, sir.
you are planting a seed.
Yes, sir.
And here's the thing, whether you believe in it or not.
Right.
You know what? This is good, because you mentioned your son. Somebody would say, well, I don't believe in that. Seed time harvest. Obviously, you and your man got together. A seed got planted. As time passed, your belly protruded. There was a harvest that came out.
Right.
So somebody can say, I don't believe it. Okay, you mess around and plant a seed.
Right.
You plant those words out there. Over time, you're getting a harvest.
Over time.
You're getting a harvest. And it's not always easy. I say this because that's a affirmation or confessing something over your life or declaring something over your life. There's times where when I was telling some young guys in school, like, look, you growing up in your neighborhood, you seeing what you seeing. So you like, oh, my neighborhood ain't nothing. My family ain't nothing. You could have been like, oh man, my child just got autism. There's nothing I could do about this.
Right.
But those are words, and you continue to say that. And I'm saying this because I want to switch to the part where I'm pretty sure it wasn't always easy.
Not
It's
at all.
sometimes you're looking at the image of what you're looking at, and you're looking at your situation, whether it's a marriage, whether it's family, whether it's friendships, whether it's business, and you're like, man, this marriage is over. This
Facts.
relationship is over. I don't know how I'm gonna do it with these kids.
Yeah.
Those are powerful words, and sometimes even when you're saying the affirmation, all the words of encouragement over yourself and over your family and over your relationship, there's times I said that stuff mustering up all I can muster, crying saying
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
my family is great.
Yes.
My neighborhood will be good.
Yes, that's the one.
Because I don't want to say it.
Right.
But I can't say what I see. I got to say what I want to see. I want to call those things not as though they are.
Oh, they are. Absolutely.
My relationship is the best. This, all right, let me, oh, I'm getting hyped. Let me calm down.
on, Mel.
This is why I
What we
say,
doing?
even in relationships, I encourage couples to do this. I got one in my relationship, to have an affirmation that you speak over your relationship. Write that thing out to the point it becomes embedded in your heart.
Right.
And you speak that every night or every day or whenever you do it over your relationship, even if it doesn't look like that.
Right.
And it may not even be bad, but even if it doesn't look like your affirmation, speak that thing out every time, because that thing's gonna come to pass.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So when you're saying this over your son, I want to know about the challenging times, not just your son, but when you had to change your word, even in your own intimate relationship. Let's go there, because there's people that's married that's watching
Okay.
this, or in an intimate relationship.
Absolutely.
Was it always, was it challenging when what you had in your heart or what the words you wanted to speak, it didn't look like that.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you said what you said, because, the thing nowadays, well, let me not say nowadays, for me and in my house, I'm like, we got to see it before we see it. That's how you have to speak. You have to see that thing before you see that thing. And with the relationship situation, the reason why I said I'm learning more about love now in my 40s is because, even in my household, my mom went through some stuff. Like, I had to pull out knives on dudes that was choking my mother. And that was supposed to be looking like love for a little kid, because you don't think your parents are not in love. You know what I'm saying? So then when I got into my relationships, the environment I was in, I dealt with drug dealers. They're hurting our people, and it became normal for us. We just like, people sell drugs where we live.
Yeah.
So then they go into jail. We like, oh, it's normal. Let me go visit that person. Let me go write that person. All kind of nonsense, from our neighborhood and our environment that is normal. So with the relationship part, coming into, being engaged, and listen, let me tell you this. If you ain't rich, do not try to do a wedding in 5 months. That's what I'm gonna say, because you lose your edges and everything else. Cause I was a nut, okay? I was crazy, doing my wedding. And we went through some challenges before we got married, because situation happened where his mom ended up living with us, and her and I never had the real, the best relationship. So I'm like, okay, God, you really testing the sister now. Like, what we doing? Two queens can't be in the same crib. This is my house. I was going through stuff where I'm like, maybe I don't want to do this marriage thing, because I know they say you got to marry the family, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, God, are you hearing me? Are you seeing me? I've been good. I've been doing this. And I was like, almost talking myself out of excuses to even do it. And it became, I'm like, yo, okay, niece, you're going crazy planning this wedding, but don't forget the word. Don't forget the word. This is who you saw. The God even gave you, to the point God gave you the actual date of your wedding. I'm not a numbers dreamer. My mother was. God gives me visions. I kept seeing these numbers in my head. I'm like, God can give me these numbers. 119, 119. I don't know what this is. I knew it wasn't my birthday, because my birthday's the 20th. Long story short, when he proposed, I'm in tears, because I'm like, yo, God gave me our wedding date. He like, in the cold? Nah, God didn't give you that. I'm like, I'm telling you, these are the numbers. These are the numbers. Mel, if I wasn't obedient to God with the numbers that he gave me, my mother would not have been in my wedding. Words, obedience. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what we have to understand. The prayers that I had 10 so years ago, I'm living in it now. Because of the seed that was planted, because of the words that was shared over those particular things.
Think about it. I ain't mean to cut you off, but
good.
You said the prayers, and even outside of that, even if it's not a prayer, the words.
Yeah, words.
Because sometimes the word is spoke, or the affirmation that you're speaking over your life. Remember, the circumstance doesn't look like it.
Oh, yeah.
And what happens is the circumstance tries to convince you it's not going to happen.
No.
That business ain't getting off. That relationship, how you saying that about the relationship, you see how she keep acting, you see how he keep responding. Now, I'm not saying that we just take anything, but when you speak in that life continually, the word is going to change it.
It's going to change it.
And I believe that a lot of us, and this is good why some of us are called to be influencers and just even mentors, tutors, and counselors, because there's people that may not be strong enough.
Absolutely.
They spoke the word over their family. They spoke the word over their relationship, and it kept looking like how it's looking. The circumstance didn't change, so they said, you know what? I'm done.
Sir.
I'm caving in. I'm done.
Sir.
And then here's the thing. There's been times where I said, I'm done.
Listen.
Like, God, you know what? I know this word, and all you said this, and you said speak affirmations, and I read in the book that this, and this person had a self-help book, but this circumstance ain't changing.
It's different.
And you know what? I can't take this weight anymore. I'm cool. I'm giving up. But then with all you can muster, you get to some point where you like, nah, I'm going to keep speaking this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over my daughter.
Absolutely.
Over my son.
Absolutely.
I don't care how they respond and how they act.
Myself.
And that's the thing.
Over myself.
Over yourself.
Over myself.
You can't, the circumstance cannot become the predictor of what comes out your mouth.
That's a fact.
No matter how dark or gloomy it looks. And I'm not saying it's easy. That's why sometimes I said it with tears in my eyes, reading my affirmation. I am a son of the Most High God.
My 8-year-old
life is like this.
Every day.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I could imagine a mom. Actually, I could not imagine being a mom and you have a son that's dealing with what he's dealing with, and you got to continue, let alone speak life over your life,
over my life,
over what you're battling with. And then this child doesn't even understand completely of what he's battling with, and you got to speak life over his life. So you got to speak life over your life and another life.
Yes. all lives involved. I had to speak life over the staff and the schools. My mother, my mom was keeping him at night. I'm working overnight just to go to school during the day, so I wouldn't miss anything with him. Mm-hmm. So I'm not rested. In my spirit I'm exhausted because I'm in church. Everybody looking at this kid that won't stop moving. He's just yelling and doing these things, and I'm stuck like, God, do it for us. God, I know what your word say. God, show me your word. And I always tell, even now, when I'm doing a mentoring thing and I'm speaking to people, and I say, whenever you pray and ask God for a certain thing, or if you planted a seed and you feel, let me say this, you feel that you're ready for that manifestation, always follow your prayer with, God, give me the strength to handle this. So that's what I always do. Whenever I will pray, whenever I will be in the word, or I'm like, God, you just gave me confirmation on that business, or God, you just gave me confirmation on this. Give me the strength and humility to handle what I'm praying for. And that's why I don't take it lightly when he gives me something new to do, or he gives me a witty idea or anything like that, because I know he's entrusted me with this thing. So I am obligated to be serious about that thing and use my words and say, I'm going to do that thing, because it's not just about me. You doing this podcast, us doing podcasts are not about us.
Yeah.
That value, people need to understand their value and the value of the relationships around them. And sometimes they just don't, because they don't have anyone telling them this is that. And you can't fault them, because everybody's environment is different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I had to see, when I wrote my book and God said, no, you're gonna write this book because it's gonna reach the masses and not about you. I didn't get email just from people with autistic children. I got people with so-called normal children and others who did not have children telling me, yo, your book inspired me when you said this. Oh, the prayer in the back got me through this. And I said these exact words and this happened. And I said, God, I thank you, because if I didn't do it, be disobedient, someone wouldn't have got that breakthrough.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So your words have to be followed with, God, give me the strength to handle what's to come. When I said, before I got married, God kept giving me prophetic words for married couples, and I was scared, because I'm like, yo, I done had a baby out of wedlock. Like, God, you can't be talking to me. And my pastor's like this, be obedient. I'm like, okay, yeah, because God, married couples, God said, and I'm in tears, and God wanted me to let you know this, and God wanted me to let you know that. And then later on, it would be, thank you so much for being obedient, because we were going through A, B, and C. I know it was God, it was confirmation. Don't be afraid to do what thus saith the Lord. And then God was able to entrust me. But I had to pray that God can entrust me even with the prophetic.
Let me ask you this. From a practical sense, what does that look like now in your relationship with your husband? Because we're not always around our partners.
Right.
So what does that look like when he's not around? What are some things that because we still speak life over them, even when they're not around. I speak life over my partner, you know what I mean?
I call that phone.
And sometimes it's the word of God, or sometimes it's just me. If I'm going for a walk and she crosses my mind, I might just say, God, I want you to cover her, empower her, give her wisdom. So what does that look like from a wife's perspective, speaking over her husband? Here's the thing, you know what?
Smiling.
You know what? Let me not make it easy either.
What?
When it's not going as grand as the relationship should be going, because that's when we're frustrated, it's easy to say, oh, I'm speaking the word, and I'm the Lord said this, and I'm an encourager, and I'm an affirmation giver. But what about when it's a little off tilter, and I don't want to say what I want to say, I gotta say what I gotta say.
Woo! All right. We can't be here for 2 hours, so
we about to close it out.
Let me just be very brief. So, because of how my husband and I relationship even started, the enemy would say, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. Because I've always been independent, when he met me, like I said, going to college, got my own car, got my own apartment, always kept a job. I've always had at least 3 hustles. I'm doing hair out of my house. I got other stuff going on. I've always been about my business when it came to money. So I'm just like, okay, just another dude, whatever. When it came to, the engagement, he was in a great place. He was getting help that he needed, counseling. I'm a big advocate for counseling. And he had to see all that he had done to not just me, but himself. Because when you're in the streets, you don't care about yourself. You don't. You heard? When you're in the streets, you don't care about yourself. The streets is the enemy's playground, okay? So with that, he had to come to realization that, yo, I know I'm more than this. And you've always told me that. Even when because I would say to him, I'm like, I've always loved you even when you were unlovable. Always. I've always loved you even when you were unlovable. So when I saw this changed person, I said to myself, he's still fragile. And so am I, because of what our past was. So we have to have a true clean slate. When I say true, that means don't play with it when you're having arguments and you want to bring that stuff back up. You're wrong. You are wrong. So if it's going to be a true clean slate, do that, but you got to take God with you, because you're still fragile. We're still human. We're made from dirt. We're fragile. So with that, it was a thing of, we got to be in our word. He's a trucker, so he'll be going 5 a.m. I wake up trying to get everything ready for the kids. I'm on that phone. Babe, you ready to pray? Hold on a minute. You know what I'm saying? I'm unloading, blah, blah, blah. He get back on that phone. We praying. We praying because I need him to be covered. For one, he's a black man. He's a black, tall, bald man. They be after him for whatever reason. So I had to, remind him that, you are a child of the King. You are head of your household. Yes, I'm who I am. I've always had my own, personality. I've always had my own leadership energy. But I had to learn how to be submissive to my husband now. You know what I'm saying? The house we live in is a house that I bought with my one son. And even when I bought the house, I said, God, why are you giving me a 5-bedroom house and there's only 2 of us? I didn't see all this was going to happen. We get married, having another child, and having a business. I didn't see any of that, but God saw it. So, looking back, daily, we have to be in our word. Even when we use our words the wrong way, there's apologies like, we can't go there again. Like, this is detrimental. We cannot do that. It was even a thing like with my 8-year-old one time, we got into it, didn't even realize we raised our voice, and my 8-year-old was like almost devastated. We like, whoa, because he never seen it before. So hold back. What we doing right now? How do we deal with this? Okay, even you mentioned on my podcast, what happens if the light is on saying the gas is going, what we doing? We about to die. Someone got to make a decision. So with that, watching our words, daily affirmations, we send each other text messages if something transpires. Something could happen bad, like my mother, we didn't know my mother was going to pass away after our wedding. So it was like devastation. What do we do now? My husband still has his mom. So when Mother's Day comes, when birthdays come, he on me like this, babe, what we doing? I'm like, no, we good. Let's go. We rocking out. But we're aware because of the word. We're aware because of the affirmations that we say. We're aware because of the words that we speak into each other's life. Is it work? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We both have 2 very strong personalities. It's work. I'm going to tell you that it is work. But when it gets to a point where you guys don't have enough strength or enough words or enough tools, have someone who has the tools to help you do that thing. This man got a book that's helping people.
Yeah.
We did a challenge, and people probably looking at us like, they only been married 2 years. Like, who are they to do a challenge? That's what God told us to do. And it freed some people. It freed us. It taught us some things about each other and ourselves that we need to be okay in our marriage. Because, I can't speak to anybody else. I'm not getting married just to get married. You get married to have a healthy relationship.
There's a word that you just said. It was very sobering with how you said it. First of all, I want to say this because there's somebody listening or watching. You use the word devastation. I listen intently to what people be saying. Devastation, and then we use the word frustration. When people are in that position, devastated, frustrated, hurt from words, it impacts your communication, not just with your partner, but with the way you speak over your family or let alone your children.
Absolutely.
Now you're frustrated and devastated. You could have used all the other words to speak against your child.
Right.
He not sitting down. He doing this. You could have said everything under the sun.
I could have said, I can't do it.
So that devastation and frustration impacts your communication. So now, but this word you used was awareness. Aware.
Come on, Mel.
And so it's very vital, and this is even for me, because I tell people when I'm talking to me too. I have to be mindful. There's a chapter in my book called Be Mindful. But also I have to be aware that, Jamel, what you about to say, that could damage you. That could damage you. That could damage somebody. And there's times where words flew out of my mouth.
Sorry.
Because the awareness level of me checking and deciphering, I just pushed to the side. And I said, oh, this is good. I just wanted to tell them how I feel.
Come on, Mel.
And they agitated a part of me that was like, oh, da da da. And but here's the thing, I'm sensitive enough that when the words went out, I said,
Ooh, yeah, you were like,
and the enemy was like, gotcha. So being
can't
aware, and it's not easy. This is something that I want to use this word train.
Okay.
I train my mind. I'm training my thoughts. I'm training myself. I'm being careful of what I'm reading, what I'm letting inside of my ears, what I'm letting inside my eyes, because that's going to impact what comes out of my mouth.
Absolutely.
What environment I'm keeping.
Right.
And I could always tell when I haven't been feeding myself properly, because I'll be in a situation and that awareness level's not high, it's very low, and I'm just blah 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 blah, and I know when the awareness, when it's low, because then I'll get somewhere and I don't feel nothing. I'm like, hold on, Mel.
Come on, Mel.
Hold on, Jamel. Like,
Yeah.
you need to check yourself. And if I don't check myself, I'll share it with my partner, or I'll share it with somebody and say, yo, this happened the other day, man. And they'll be like, bruh, you was wrong,
That wasn't
man.
you. Yeah.
But-
I don't know what
but-
that was,
but-
but that wasn't you.
Having that awareness to even do that.
Yeah.
So check this out, because we gotta wrap it. We gotta wrap, because I already know what we'll do. For someone that's listening or watching it, specifically a woman, because I know it's women watching it. I know another woman can speak life into another woman. Not saying a man couldn't, but
I got you.
for that woman that may be frustrated, devastated. I hear what you're talking about, affirmations and words is powerful and word is bond and speak life and my boyfriend or my husband or my family and these kids, you don't understand what I'm dealing with. I've been speaking this word for weeks, months, years. My situation is still the same. What do you tell her?
What do I tell her? Because she sound like me.
What do you tell her? What
She
do
sound like me.
you tell her that's in the position of the old Shennise? Because now
I'm a
she's sitting
woman
in
of
front of you
faith.
and she wants to know.
I'm a woman of faith, so it's not even hard. Like, it's actually really easy, but I want to be specific and aware of my response. What I can say is the old me. I've always had faith, so let's.
But let's do
I'll have to
this.
say, like,
She her faith is withered.
That's what I'm saying.
It's almost depleted.
yeah,
And she's looking at you saying, what do I do?
yeah.
The old Shennise is looking at you and saying, what do I do on her darkest day? Her faith is not on full. It ain't even nowhere near. It's empty. And this is the day she about to check out.
Right.
And she like, what do I do? What can you tell me? I need something. Tell me something.
This is crazy, cause I rarely get stumped.
It's okay.
I really get stumped, but cause I'm picturing where I was. Some type of change has to happen, because what happens is, God can speak, or you can speak and seek God for a certain thing, and like he said, there's seasons for it. You plant that seed, you water that seed, and there will be a harvest. But you have to have faith in that thing, even when it doesn't look like what you're asking God for. My son, he speaks well, he loves God, he is progressing, he finished high school, he's doing his thing, he has his own hair care line, and I had to foresee these things when he could not speak. I had to foresee these things when he was moving around and couldn't keep still and all these things, and he's never been on medication. So I had to tap into my faith in a whole different realm to see it before I could see it. So to that person, when God tells you to change your prayer and be specific, be obedient. Your obedience will save your life. Your faith will save your life and those around you. Because even when we say life, we don't just mean you actually living, but the spirit connected to the people around you can be broken because you're being disobedient or because your faith has withered. So you want to tap into a whole other realm of faith so you can see that thing before you see it.
Awesome. Listen, man, we never actually stop. We just pause, because there will be a continue. There will be another part to this, probably live in New York.
This is great.